Our first guest is Senate President Craig Blair, who joins us via telephone. Craig, good morning to you.
Good morning. So I have to ask a question. Did somebody in West Virginia hit the $200 million Powerball?
I don't know where it was from. I just saw this morning that they reset the jackpot, so somebody hit it Saturday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I was just curious because those are revenues that come into the state. if it's a West Virginian that does that, and that all helps
New York
with
City.
economic development and growing the future. New York City didn't do us any good at all.
Nope. Wouldn't have helped you. 5%.
So good morning.
So if you hit a $200 million jackpot, you get about $80 million of that. So that would be about 5% of $80 million.
Yeah, you can make it go a long way. Going back to Randy Smith, I think Randy's jackpot was $75 million, something like that. And not only his Randy benefit, the whole community benefited the way that he maximized the payoffs.
Does the store get a spiff?
Yes, the store gets a little kick. But you mentioned the name Randy Smith, who hit a Powerball jackpot here locally. And another Randy Smith is now going to be the next West Virginia Senate president, succeeding Craig Blair. Craig, you were not in on that vote because you will not be in the next state Senate. I saw Tom Willis's picture on the Metro News page. Tell me how that scenario sets up for you as one Senate president about to be succeeded by another and the vote that took place.
Okay, so yesterday they had the caucus, and to be able to manage things, it took place at 3 o'clock, and the clerk, and really there's been no real vote before, and we had 3 or 4 people that were wanting to be the Senate president, and so we had to put rules in place and everything to be able to manage the caucus, and I took care of getting all that together. I've had the ballots put together for them so that everything would be in place for them to be able to manage themselves in there. And we were successful to a greater degree. Everything went very, very smooth, is my understanding, what I hear from all 3 camps that was there. So I was sitting here in my office in case they needed me, and it was a long, sort of boring day, except for people coming and gone. But I should, my term will end on January the 8th. And that's when the new Senate president will be sworn in, and then they will take over and start moving forward from then. And this year's a gubernatorial year, so our 60-day special session will not start on the first day. There'll be a break, and I think it's February the 10th. I could have that date wrong, but it's kicked out for 4 weeks. Because it's allowing everybody to set up. And that will allow the new Senate president to put staff and his teams together and all that. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Craig, was it in-person caucus, or was it done by remotely with Zoom and the like?
See, that was part of the questions, and I even let's back up into where we had interims a month ago, and I called a caucus, and everybody was wondering, well, why are you calling a caucus? And well, the reason for it was I sat in there. I said, how many people know what you're supposed to be doing when it comes to electing a new president? Because whenever I did it, there was a little bit of a challenge, but when the day came, it was just nothing but formalities, and that's the way it was before. And so nobody could actually, and I laughed at them because nobody knew. And I said, well, neither did I until about 2 weeks ago, and I started doing the research on it. We looked at what the House of Delegates did, and so I put everything together from that. But I was able to get a read from them on what they wanted, and one of the things was if you were going to be voting, you're going to be you have to be in person. Those desires was already there.
Okay, great.
What was your relationship with Randy Smith like when he was in the Senate and you were the Senate president, Craig? And what kind of Senate president will Randy Smith be?
Well, my relationship's good. He was my energy chairman for that, and so the relationship's very good. I like Randy a lot. I'm not going to comment on who I think would be the best president. That would be inappropriate for me to do that. He's going to have to be able to it's better for me to explain what the Senate President does, and that is at any given point in time, you're juggling anywhere from 10 to 50 different balls. And when I say balls, it's legislation, problems to be solved, and then you also have to manage the staff, and there's over 50 of the staff. You have to coordinate with the House and the governor's office. Economic development is a component of everything that goes on. In the Senate, one of the reasons why there was a potential special session yesterday, there was the potential for investment into the state of West Virginia. Not $2 billion, not $10 billion. It was going to be $40 billion plus, and it could have been double or triple that. And that still may happen, but there's going to have to be discussions going forward to be able to work that out. And I'm not going to give any greater details on that. But imagine the economic impact that actually would have in any given area just for the tax base that would come from that type of investment. It's incredible. From that standpoint. So that's a component of what the Senate President has to deal with. Then you've got, and I've got to add this to it, there's 34 of us with egos. And you got to be able to manage 33 of those and keep everybody happy. Frankly, I did a pretty good job of doing that, and I think Randy's got the capabilities of doing that as well.
Mr. Gilstrap.
So what changes from president to president? It sounds like, I mean, it's a lot to manage, but the slate of things to manage is a constant from one president to the next. So what can... I'm not talking about Randy or Senator Smith in this particular case, but in general, what can a new president improve or screw up? You get my point?
I get what you're saying there, and it's about style. And I don't know how better to explain it than that. The style is do you start on time or do you start late? That used to be the thing that took place here all the time. And I'm not talking about Bill Cole and Mitch Carmichael. They started whenever the staff could get it on time, but it's the management of the team on being able to start on time, finish on time, have a predictability of knowing what's going on. By the way, I got to add this. I knew first round votes yesterday when I finally heard what they were. It was like I was spot on. So you got to have the ability to be able to count votes and know where your people's at so that you can guide them in the direction. Now, there's a couple that, when I'm just going back to style here for a minute, of knowing where your caucus is at, there are two different types of leaders. One is that thinks that they're elected and they're smart enough that everybody's going to do what they say because they're just so brilliant. And then there's the other type of leader that wants to do the will of the people that he's leading. And I feel that I fell into the latter on that. It was always about knowing where the caucus was and what the ability for them, what they wanted to do, and get that across the finish line. And God forbid, whenever you had that issue, that it was a 17-17 issue. And vaccines was that for me. And it made it so that if I had hair, I would have pulled it all out because there was no pleasing either side. And so, but 17-17 fails. Okay, that's nobody wins with the 7. You have to have +1 to be able to have a winning. Now, you also have to be able to manage people and staff. And I've often joked about it for the House delegates, but now it'll apply to the Senate. He who employs the most people and manages the most people in their day job and customers and things like that will probably succeed doing the best, being able to manage the body itself, because there's so many moving parts to going on with that. And then, again, you got to get along with the executive. You got to be able to get along with the constitutional officers. You got to be able to work with them as well, and that includes the speaker.
Senate President Craig Blair, excuse me, our guest here on the program. When will the governor, if he has not yet already, make his intentions clear on when he plans on taking office in Washington, D.C. as the next U.S. Senator from West Virginia, Craig, because it directly affects you in some ways.
You're asking the wrong person, and it has little to no effect on me. It'd be fun to be governor for a couple of days or whatever, and a good ending to what I consider a great career. I just got done serving as Senate President and a senator in the state of West Virginia, and I was at the helm the last 4 years, and it's our most prosperous years in West Virginia history. We had economic development. We brought businesses into the state. We reduced taxes, and we invested in our infrastructure and got things done for the people. I have been blessed beyond belief from that standpoint. I sound a little bit like the governor there, but no matter what, that cannot be taken away. And so I'm beyond pleased. And where we go into the future, that's yet to be seen. But doing the right things and looking out for the people of West Virginia will actually get the same results that we've been getting in the past. And I'm very, very proud of putting that template in place. And somebody told me yesterday the goals that I'd put in place, the markers and everything, are going to be hard for anybody to hit into the future. But if they do, I want to celebrate that. I want to be able to celebrate the fact that they are doing even better, because the people of West Virginia will benefit from that.
Craig, a couple of questions. Were you surprised that Eric Tarr was the first of the three to be eliminated?
Nope.
Okay. Fair enough.
The follow-up question is, why were you not surprised?
Nice try, but I'm not going there. Everything is fragile as it is right now, and I don't want to. I'm not going to make those assumptions publicly.
Okay. The second question, related question, is you described what a Senate president should do. How do you feel that Randy Smith will do as Senate president, and what will be his emphasis? Will he be more of a social warrior, or will he be more of a Chamber of Commerce Senate president?
That depends. Where his votes were are more social warrior. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that's the way that Randy will govern. So that's yet to be seen. I'm going to use myself. I'm not going to talk about Randy or anybody else. But whenever I was in the minority and then serving with Bill Cole and Mitch Carmichael and everything, it was always, I would have, should have, could have. You know where I'm going with that. It's easy to second guess when you're not in the chair. And I did that. I did that a lot. And I tried to remember that I never dreamed I'd be in this role. But when I got there, I remembered how I thought then, and I tried to do the right things. I tried to do the noble things. I wanted to make great decisions for not just the people that supported me, but for the ones that didn't. And so that's the mindset. And when you come in and you take over this role, there are so many things that you don't know. You didn't know that you needed to know. I don't know how to say that properly. But then there are wonderful people here to be able to help. I don't know where Randy will keep the staff that I have here, but I brag about them every chance I get. 60% of the time I go and ask for something, and it was done yesterday. If I had them in business, in the private sector, I would have been a multi-millionaire and had so many great things going on in my life and for them as well. I just can't say enough good things about it. And frankly, I predict that Randy keeps the vast majority of the teams in place that will make him successful.
Maybe this is a throwaway question, but if it came to pass that Governor Justice goes to Washington early and you slip into the governor's position, would that officially make you the 37th governor, like for the record books?
Yes.
For the okay, well, that's kind of cool.
And will you give us a 4 or 5 holiday during that period of time?
Nope. Not going there. I've joked about it, though, that one of the things that I would do as governor, when you walk in, our Capitol is beautiful. For your listeners that haven't been here, you should come here. But when you walk in on the wings on each side, there are these things that are cylindrical and cut off like a wedge, and it's got a TV on the inside of it, and it's supposed to tell you where things are at. They look like they're from the 1960s. I would actually spend maybe $15,000 or $20,000 and upgrade those and put that in place so that it fit everything else in the Capitol is so beautiful, and those things are eyesores, and they need to be upgraded. But other than that, nah. Jim Justice has done a great job at being governor, even though there's been times that we're at odds. But the evidence is in the results. Largest tax reductions in history, the greatest revenues. We've reduced the size of government. All the different things that we needed to do has been done together. And I predict that Patrick Morrissey will take that mantle and can continue on. And that's the beautiful part of change, is that people that have looked at things and said, hey, I would do this differently, or I would do this, or I would do that. They're going to get their opportunities to be able to shine. And if they don't shine, then they need to step away.
Greg, what is the relationship you have, if any, with your successor, Tom Willis? Obviously, that was a very difficult campaign, and he won. Have you given him any advice or any time into discussing the position of Senate that you'll be vacating soon?
I haven't talked to Tom at all. And so, and I'm frankly not all that bothered about talking to him, because when you have to send cease and desist letters to somebody that is not telling the truth, well, it makes it, hard to be friendly. And so I wish him luck, and I want him to do well for the state of West Virginia and the people of the Eastern Panhandle. But other than that, no, don't think so. I didn't see him yesterday at all, and I was in the building all over the place. So, but I know he was inside the chamber.
So if Senator Smith is listening to this right now and were to ask your counsel, it seems to me that there's a lot of talented rookies, all in powerful positions, from the governor's mansion all the way through Senate president, and, well, not on the House side necessarily. Would the new Senate president be wise to keep the chairmanships of the committees stable for the first go-around, so that there aren't yet more rookies in charge of everything? And I don't mean rookies as an insult. I mean just new to the job.
Yeah, and that's the Senate president's call on what they want to do. Whenever I became the Senate president, I tried to make as smooth as transition as possible. And you have to keep in mind, when it was Bill Cole and Mitch Carmichael as the Senate presidents, well, I was close with them. And so a lot of the appointments that were made, heck, I recommended them and did that. And so you put... Your ultimate goal is to put the best talent for the role that they're doing, so that they can succeed and take their personal knowledge and turn it into something that is an asset for the people of West Virginia. And the other way this works is that if you have to put people in to promise that they're going to be this or that to be able to get their votes, and that's a recipe for disaster. Because what you do is you're not putting in the best and the brightest for that position. You're putting them in because they're willing to vote for you. I don't know how that is playing out. I'm not making accusations that is taking place. I've just seen that in my 20-plus years of serving in the legislature, that you see these things happen, and you wonder what the outcome's going to be with it. Sometimes it's just fine. Sometimes it's a catastrophe. But again, those aren't my decisions. I just know that I didn't have any catastrophes while I was Senate president.
What will the turnover in the Senate be in terms of total new senators, Craig?
Oh my golly, I don't have that off the top of my head. There's probably 8. If it's not 8, it's give or take. And see, that's the other thing about this Senate president's race, being the fact that it was close and the running on that. Well, there's going to be 2 that we know of. Charlie Trump was in voting yesterday, but the likelihood of him being there on January the 8th, whenever they make the final vote on the official vote, he won't be on the floor for that, more than likely. Mark Hunt, who is a current senator, is going to be the new auditor. He'll more than likely, I believe, not be there on the floor in January, but even if he is on the floor, then you remember you're not starting until February. Being it's a close vote, you could have a call to vacate the chair if the replacements don't support the Senate president. You see where I'm going with that? Mm-hmm. And there could be a couple more that could be extracted out of the Senate. I know one of them that may go to work for the Trump administration. If I was the governor the governor-elect, there are some senators that are really good, and I would want them to be cabinet secretaries. So, that'll be up to Patrick Morrissey on what he wants to do. There's a lot of variables, and when the vote counts are so close, that becomes an issue.
Craig, thanks for your time this morning, as always. Throughout your tenure, very much appreciated, sir.
You're welcome.
Have
Merry
a good day.
Christmas to you, Craig.
All right, take care.